Hello everyone and welcome to my video on how to build a weather station using Python. Today I'm going to show you guys how to store data from two weather APIs into Microsoft SQL Server. And I'm going to discuss a little bit the code and the challenges that I face and the changes that I plan on doing. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is a fresh install or any install actually of Microsoft SQL Server. I am using Microsoft SQL Server Express, the free version. So for the purpose of this video, let's go ahead and create a new database so I can show you how I did mine. So let's do a weather video test. I just leave everything as default. There's a typo in there. Test. Okay. So on my GitHub, which will be linked to this video, I left this little script here, and we are going over just one small change that I made and then that I plan on doing differently from now on. So I copied this. So let's do a new query and let's create our table. Create table weather. We're going to do date and time, temperatures, no solar radiation, visualization, description, wind speed, sunrise, sunset, precipitation, country, pressure, and wind direction. You can note that only datetime has a datetime format. All of the other ones are as an varchar max. And usually when you are bringing data into a system where you are going to, do data management, you usually do a freestyle data and varchar will take anything, so that's what I want. I want to take in anything and then I will transform this data. This is a topic for another video and for another step of the code that it's going to be implemented later. So let's run the script and create our table. Okay, so you can see here we should have a table. There we go, VBO weather. So in date time, what I am doing, I am using it as not null, so it has to have a value. And I go into design, and in here, default value or binding, I use get date. So this will bring me the date and time, the current system date and time every time it inserts. So it's going to look something a little bit like so. So this, you can see it run at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and so on and so forth. And these are the system data from when my scheduled task is running my Python code. Let's execute and get the last ones. Okay, there we go. You can see it's running hourly. So now that we covered this section, let's go into our Python code. So you can see the libraries that I am importing: request to do HTTP request, JSON, sys. I have a couple of plans that I'm going to use pandas and sys. I don't believe that I'm using them right now. And from JSON import loads. So what you need is to go to these two websites, OpenWeather, the link is right here, and WeatherBit. And you need to create a key for those two websites. I already have mine and they are fed into my code, and I'm going to discuss with you guys why I'm using two weather APIs. So the next step is the weather API websites or APIs that I'm using, and then you are going to insert your own keys into this section and assign them to these two variables. City and country, if you want, if your city is pretty unique, you can use just city. You can comment out country. I had to do it because when I used Burlington, it was getting Burlington, US, and I am in Canada, so I had to add country. With that information, I have built in here, and I use the format because in here is the URL with a city, with a country, and with the API key. In case I want to change cities and countries, or in case I want to change keys, I can simply change it in the variable. So you can see city Burlington, API weather key, country, and so using format will allow a better flexibility. The next step is making the request, the HTTP request to the API. So you can see here WeatherBit JSON, it's doing a request. It's going to reply on a JSON format, and OpenWeather JSON, it's going to reply on a JSON format. Uh, just to be on the safe side, I use this to store the JSON response and give it the JSON format. So you can see here that it's going to format it. So in this section, you can see in here that I'm taking from WeatherBit. I'm taking temperature, city, country code, precipitation, pressure, snow, solar radiation, sunrise, sunset, ultraviolet visualization, wind direction, wind speed, and feels alike. I couldn't find a weather sensation in OpenWeatherBit, so that's why I brought OpenWeather API because I wanted the thermal feeling, the what it felt like, what it really felt like, and what were the factors impacting that weather sensation. If the wind, if the ultraviolet, if day or night, if the amount of radiation. That's where I'm going to conduct my first investigation with this data. You can also see here that I had a print for a WeatherBit response to check if it was on the valid format. If you want to check it, you can just uncomment this line, and after you feed it your key, it's going to print for you on the screen. And you can also see that in here, I used this to test if the values were actually getting stored. So now we move into the database section of the code. And the first thing I did was to import PIODBC. It's going to be called DB, as you can see there, PIODBC as DB. The SQL connection, you can see the DB connect is using this line string here. This is my server name. This is my database name. The database, since I created a new database for the purpose of this demonstration, if I were going to use it on a live code, I would have to adjust here. And since I'm using a trusted connection, which means simply that I'm using my Windows authentication credentials, this is my personal computer. I don't have much security implemented in it because I'm the only one using it, but you might have to use username and databases here. A great way to get this is on this website right here, connectionstrings.com. I got it from here. So you can see that I simply adjusted the values here. Let's do a quick connection to show you guys also how I got it. So let's connect. So this is my server name, Lenovo Lo key SQL Express, and I'm using Windows authentication, so you can identify the Lenovo Lo key right here, and the database name, and I'm using trusted connection. Those two lines, don't worry about it. I was having testing a couple of stuff, and I used this database collation while I was trying to fix some database connectivity issues, and I added those two lines. So let's focus on line 89 here. So I'm using my insert. You need three single quotes to start the insert into DBO, and in here are all the columns that I'm going to insert. So as you can see, if we count, I already counted before, we have 14 columns. And the values, since the values are coming from variables, you need afterwards 14 question marks. So you need to put in the same order as you put the connections. What I did, I created a tuple. So you can see that it follows the same weather. Weather is the name of the table, sorry. So you can see that right here after we start with temperature, then we go to snow. Snow is here. We then move to solar radiation. Solar radiation, UV index is UV, visualization, and so on and so forth. So what this is going to do is when I put this into this insert data execute. So insert data is this variable SQL connection cursor. It's going to execute. I'm telling it to execute the query. So it has all those question marks. After the question marks, you can see that it's going to insert the weather tuple. So all those question marks are going to be substituted with the values that I got from the last run in the variables and insert them into the database. And then we move into a commit to commit the changes and insert and save them to my database. So that's the database part of the code. There are a couple of tips and tricks that I want to insert here. This is just the first iteration of the code working. So let's look at it again and see how it's going. You can see that some time passed because I'm edited on a portion of the video, but there we go, hourly data being collected. So a couple of things that I wanted to change is regarding task scheduler, because you can see here that I have this task scheduler scheduled whether hourly. It's calling my visual. Let's make it bigger. Can we make it bigger? No, it's running my VBS script, which runs silently, and it should run every hour. So there we go. Repeat task every 1 hour indefinitely. And well, what's happening in here is that um, I added here condition. I asked it to run even if the computer is hibernating. So what happened is that my computer right now, I don't know if it needs a BIOS update or if it needs some advanced Windows settings. I don't believe so because I checked the advanced Windows settings. When my computer hibernate, is not waking up from hibernation. So I have to reboot it. And every time I reboot it, I have to reprogram the task scheduler. And a couple of times I even have to delete the schedule altogether and create a new one because it was either not running at all or duplicating the data. So I have in this data set right here a couple of data duplicates. Let me get to the point where I have some duplicates and show you guys. And there we go. See, I was having some duplicates way back, and this will impact the data set, that this data set. So what um, I intend to do about it is move this into a PostgreSQL database on a Linux machine using cron, because unfortunately on this computer that I'm running it on Windows right now, I can't trust Task Scheduler to get the job done. So this is one of the challenges that I did, and I will do a video with the changes that I made and how to run it on Linux using Postgres. Um, what I can do as well is implement a check if we have duplicates and delete one of the entries. This could be easily implemented in the code. And another thing that I want to change, so when I have those gaps, when my computer stops bringing data, those APIs, they allow me to go and generate requests for specific date and time. So let's say that I want to know how the weather was in my city a week ago at 6 p.m. I can run an API line, an API command, an API HTTP request that will bring me this data. But if I have the date time getting the system date and as a mandatory field, then I can't. And every time that I run it and try to insert into the database, it's either going to conflict with API date and time and system date and time, or it won't accept it. Even if I allow this field to be empty, it won't accept it because I'm inserting the system date and time. So I will come up with a solution for that as well. So those are the challenges. Those are my next programming challenges. This is the code that I've been running, and this is the end of the first video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm working on it. And thank you. See you guys in the next video.